This presentation introduces the subject of energy access. It states and then reconfigures the size of the problem, generally known as energy poverty. It presents a number of examples of local business activities and implementation models that address this problem. And it offers a set of frameworks for planners, policymakers, and entrepreneurs to consider. Hello, my name is Phil LaRocco. I've been engaged in the energy poverty and energy access field since 1990. Energy poverty statistics are familiar. About 1.5 billion people lack access to small amounts of electricity. That number grows substantially if you add the number of people who lack access to reliable electricity. 2.5 billion people cook with dirty, dangerous, and often expensive and drudgery-producing fuels. This translates to about 1/3 of the world's people living without small amounts of electricity and power, modern lighting or cooking. And while it is projected that tens of trillions of dollars will be spent on improving the world's already modern energy systems, the energy poverty situation is not expected to fundamentally change over the next 2 decades. Less familiar than the broad estimates of the problem of energy poverty is the powerful, perhaps inextricable connection between energy poverty and reaching development goals and objectives widely embraced and valued. Quite simply, without improvements in modern energy, these development goals and objectives cannot be realized. Paradoxically, the problem of energy access is not one of available technologies. There is no shortage of technologies that meet basic energy needs. And it is not a problem of affordability. Dirty, dangerous fuels such as kerosene or expensive sources of electricity such as dry cell batteries or purchased charcoal or wood are more expensive than modern energy. And innovations in micro-lending, pay-as-you-go technologies, mobile banking make these modern technologies even more affordable to the vast majority of customers. The problem isn't affordable, appropriate technology. The problem is a lack of access to these products and services. Therein lies an extraordinary opportunity to build and expand small businesses that profitably and sustainably deliver modern energy to households, communities, and other small businesses. Much has been said and written that results in our thinking that the problem of energy poverty elimination is a huge and complex and terribly expensive one. This is understandable because satisfying basic energy needs is often presented with 1 or 2 additional problems attached to it. First, we tend to calculate the cost and quantities of basic energy by combining basic energy needs with more traditional energy services. Example, 200 to 400 watts of installed capacity per household. These are traditional standards that meet both energy needs and future energy wants. Energy poverty is a problem of basic needs, not a problem of satisfying all the future desires of all people. Second, we tend to mix the problem of energy poverty reduction with our desire to create a sustainable, no-carbon, low-carbon energy future. While renewable energy and efficient devices can compete successfully with fossil fuel resources, adding the renewable energy or climate change agenda to the desire to help people escape energy poverty is both unnecessary and impractical. Unnecessary because the quantities of energy and the carbon footprint of the poor as they escape energy poverty is negligible. Impractical because modern cooking and heating use fossil fuels such as natural gas or LPG. If your objective is the elimination of energy poverty and the empowerment of the development goals referenced earlier, then concentrate on that objective. The magnitude of energy poverty is generally stated as 1.5, 2, or 2.5 billion people lacking basic energy, goods, and services. For our purposes, I would like to restate the size of the problem. Instead of thinking of the number of people, we should concentrate on the number of households where these people live. Improve lighting, small amounts of electricity, improve fuels, or cooking methods benefit households, not just this or that individual who lives there. So instead of this or that billion people statistic, I would like you to think in terms of 400 million to 500 million households globally and convert your own local, country, or regional conditions to the same measure. For example, look at household spending and income rather than per capita data. Likewise, instead of thinking in terms of the energy, goods, and services needed to reach some installed capacity or kilowatt hour per year standard, let's consider restating the problem in terms of the investment needed to provide basic energy needs. That is, the requirements to escape energy poverty, small amounts of light and electricity, improved cooking, and power for such tasks as sewing, barbering, and even modest amounts of water pumping. For this discussion, I want to estimate that this represents an investment of between $125 and $500 per household. You need to do your own research on the matter because all development is local. However, the range is a reasonable proxy of basic energy needs and services. Of course, not to power a flat-screen TV or a MacBook, but sufficient to begin the climb out of energy poverty. So now we come to the question, is it really practical to create small, sustainable, and growing businesses to address the problem and take advantage of the opportunity? The answer is a resounding yes. The evidence is diverse geographically, applies to many goods and services, and embraces quite a few examples. One small local manufacturer such as Toyota in Ghana with improved cook stoves. Solar-based enterprises such as Zara in Tanzania and Selco in India. Large programs such as the Biomass Support Program in Nepal focused on household biogas. The use of rice waste and biomass gasification in Cambodia by SMERE. Retail and distributor LPG business in West Africa. Multi-decade Anagi stove improvement programs based on local artisans in Sri Lanka. And community cooperative-based grid extensions in Bolivia. These are not even a representative sample of the experiences to tap. Check out other resources. Most of what needs to be done can be copied and adapted to local circumstances, but the basis for local customization is now very, very rich. Similarly, there exists a diverse set of business models. I hesitate to call this a typology because very often a local initiative combines different approaches. Whereas Toyota began as a local market manufacturer and distributor, business model number 3, it has grown in many directions, including multiple markets, which is business model number 2. While the Nepal biogas program embraced business model number 9 primarily, it also incorporated elements of local construction and products, which is business model number 3. How should policymakers, planners, on-the-ground development professionals, and energy entrepreneurs go about the task of designing and implementing energy access initiatives? The final part of this presentation will suggest that there is a high-level macro framework to consider, as well as a transaction on-the-ground micro framework, and to strongly recommend that whatever initiative you plan or consider should build on these frameworks and build on a set of common ingredients that link high-level planning with on-the-ground success. These common ingredients, whether designing large-scale interventions or a single enterprise, are information. We have to have information available at all levels of society and in all halls of decision-making. This means information on market conditions, competition, incentives, enabling environment, and doing business conditions. Capacity building is next. Entrepreneurs tend to be ready to tackle energy poverty but not prepared. A program of study connected to well-informed coaching can make sure that local entrepreneurs are both prepared and ready, that they especially have investment-ready business plans to show to lenders, investors, partners, and suppliers. Products. Small businesses are often unable to access products at reasonable prices. Blame distances, blame middlemen, blame lack of buying power, blame import hassles. The reality is that product in a capital city or on a dock do not readily reach customers in the hinterlands. This is a public-private problem to be addressed as completely as possible. Enterprise finance is the fourth of the 5 ingredients. Small businesses need 3 kinds of capital: seed or startup capital, working capital for inventory and operations, and capital to grow. One of the paradoxes in this space is the statement that there is plenty of money but not enough bankable deals. Capacity building can help with the deal pipeline, but only if the available types of money match the needs of the enterprise. If a financial institution wants an entrepreneur to have all of the startup capital and 40% of the working capital on hand from savings, family, or friends, how can we expect that entrepreneur to really get the business financed? It's not just plenty of money that counts, but the right kind of money that matters, the right kind of risk-taking balanced against the substantial rewards of investing in local enterprises. The final point here is customer finance. To make things more affordable, it's helpful to match existing spending habits with the purchase of improved goods and services. Sometimes financing is justified by current spending, other times by increased income, other times by just an improvement in the quality of life or leisure time. Sometimes payments can be made more easily and readily available for customers through pay-as-you-go systems or microloans or informal credits or mobile banking. These are trends to be watched and improved upon. With these 5 common ingredients in place, it's possible to present a simple design for programs and high-level interventions. Such a design must consider 3 elements: underlying policies, the technologies being promoted, and the enterprises delivering the result to the doorstep of the consumer. Unfortunately, at the highest level, there tends to be an imbalance. There tends to be great amounts of attention on the policy or the technology and very little attention paid on the delivery mechanisms, the local entities actually providing goods and services. This imbalance reduces the impact of initiatives, the sustainability of those initiatives, the profitability of those initiatives, the benefits to the consumers. Maximum impact at the most efficient cost will be realized when high-level decision makers consider a balanced approach to policy, choices of technologies, and the delivery enterprises. We need to consider these as equally important sides of every initiative. Similarly, decision makers should be wary of large, big push programs of one or another technology or one-size-fits-all policy solutions. It's helpful to think of the design features here that we are creating a triangle, the sides and strength of which will determine the impact inside. It's also reasonable to look at what happens when you try to create a triangle, capture impact from sides that are weak or too short. At the micro level, that is at specific transactions and enterprises, there are 8 important variables, 4 on the customer side and 4 on the enterprise side. Attention to these variables won't guarantee success, but failure to attend to these 8 items will make success much more difficult. Let's think of these as questions. On the customer side, customer demand. Does the customer desire the product or service being offered such that it is affordable to that household? Customer knowledge. Does the customer know what he or she should know about the product being considered? Customer support services. Will the product be supported with appropriate operations, maintenance, and replacement services over time? And customer finance. Is affordable financing needed and available? Now let's switch to the other side of the doorstep, the side where the enterprise delivers products and services. Enterprise technology. Is the technology being offered by the enterprise appropriate to the customers and meeting their demand for improvement? The entrepreneur. Is the entrepreneur and staff of the enterprise both prepared and ready to deliver and sustain customer relationships? Enterprise services. Does the enterprise have the support services, business planning, accounting, and so on needed to succeed? And enterprise finance. Does the enterprise have access to the balanced set of capital needed to operate sustainably? That means startup capital, working capital for inventory and operations, and growth capital. This presentation is merely intended to introduce a few parts of the Energy Access Challenge. Its basic messages are: try to keep the problem and opportunity in focus and do not muddle it with other issues. Look at the problem as an opportunity and translate whatever data points you are provided into human terms. Consider each household the key entry point. Household data are more relevant sometimes than per capita data. Consider the rich experience base and potential of local entrepreneurs, local enterprises, and the jobs they create. Build balanced policies, programs, and enterprises. Frankly, be wary of single technology pushes or big push policy-only ideas. Focus on the customer and the delivery entity closest to their doorstep. And finally, research and study. There is a lot out there to learn from. Thank you, and best wishes.